What's the difference between my visa expiration date or my I-94 expiration date? Which one controls my ability to stay in the United States? Tune in today to Immigration Wednesday to find out the answer to some of these questions. Hi, I'm attorney Jeff Peak, board certified immigration expert. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about visa versus status. There's three concepts that control the authorization of a non-immigrant foreign national to stay inside the United States. And those three concepts are written behind me. You got the I-94, which used to be given in the form of a little white card inside of your passport. You have the visa, the actual visa that's issued inside of your passport. Or you have what's known as the USCIS Petition Approval Notice. Usually those are found for people who are applying for employment visas. You'll notice if you're on a tourist visa, for example, you usually don't have a USCIS petition. You just apply for those at a consulate or an embassy abroad. But for certain types of work visas, H's, L's, O's, you can file, you have to file a petition and you give an approval notice. And we're going to talk about which one of these controls at which moment, because it can be an important factor to avoid the accumulation of unlawful presence or unlawful status. So first off, your I-94, this is generally what governs the period of time which you're allowed to stay lawfully inside the United States. You're given this upon every entry into the United States on a non-immigrant visa. That typically is going to control that date on that I-94 controls. Now, recently they moved to not issuing these little cards, and you have to go online with the passport information to find out what the date is on there, and you can print that out. But the I-94 usually controls. I say usually, and I'll explain why that can be different later on. The visa, what is the visa? The visa is the actual document that you're given that allows you to present yourself at a port of entry or an airport and to seek admission to the United States. Just because your visa expiration date is far future does not mean that is the date, a time period that you're allowed to have status inside the United States. Classic example of this is most people, when they apply for a tourist visa, they're given a tourist visa for 10 years. That doesn't mean you're allowed to stay inside the United States for 10 years. It means for the next 10 years, you can present yourself at an airport or port of entry and ask for entrance to the United States under this status. They can let you in, and if they let you in, guess what they'll give you? An I-94, and that will control your period of your stay. They can also deny you entry just because you have a visa. It doesn't guarantee you right entry. It just allows yourself to present yourself kind of as a pre-approved on certain grounds to seek this kind of entry. And then lastly, you have the approval notice. Now, note that, again, you can present yourself at the port of entry, for example, for Mexican Canadians looking for a TN visa, for example, and you don't need a visa. Now, you could be inside the United States. Anybody who's inside the United States has to have status. You cannot have status outside the United States. Status is something only given to you when you're inside the United States. Sometimes people look to change or extend their status from inside the United States by filing a petition. In that case, you might have a unique circumstance where, if approved, your new petition for change or extension status is the actual date that controls your lawful presence, not your I-94. Likewise, you can have the reverse scenario where you have a visa already approved, or even an petition approval notice for a far off date, but when you leave the country and come back in for different reasons, it could be something called reciprocity, the officers at the port of entry give you less time on your I-94 to be in the United States than the time you have on your petition notice. Which one of those two controls? And here's a general rule that you can always pretty much take to the bank, okay? The document that controls is the one that's most recently issued, okay? The document that controls your status is the one most recently issued. If there's a conflict between documents, whether the I-94, your petition approval notice, you go with the one that was most recently given. In this scenario that I just gave you, you have a petition approval notice, maybe that's a year away, but you're coming in a port of entry and for whatever reason the officer gives you 6 months. Does that mean you can stay for a year because you have a petition? No, the most recently issued document was the I-94. You better follow that. These can be confusing issues. If you have a differentiating date between the documents, check with your lawyer. If you don't have a lawyer, it's good to find out. The worst thing you can do is overstay your permission to stay, begin to accumulate unlawful presence, can potentially block you from getting visas in the future, and even worse, you could have a bar of up to 3 or 10 years if you overstay 2 months. So that's a little bit of information for you regarding these 3 different documents. I hope that helps. You can find more information on our website. You can call us We'd be happy to talk to you here at Peek and Tone. Again, my name is Jeff Peek. I hope you have a great week.